This is Darryl Banks for you guys. Yeah, sorry about the bad connection that I might have was having some issues trying to connect. So we're here. So again, let me introduce you to Darryl Banks. I was telling you guys some moments ago that today I'm thrilled to announce that we have this special guest with us. For those who were not aware of all the promotionals, that it was just posted on Reels and Stories. We have Darryl Banks, which is one of the most famous Green Lantern artists in history, to my personal opinion. Very well known during the 90s. And well, thank you, Darryl, for being here. First, I don't know, like I've been telling this that you are such a great artist, well known for Green Lantern, but I'm sure that besides Green Lantern, you have some other projects that I'm sure that you can talk about us. What is your background? What is that you have been working lately? Any cool projects? Tell us a little bit more about yourself, because some of the people might know you. Some people might not know you because they're maybe too young. Maybe they were not into Green Lantern. So please, can you give us a little brief of your background, who Darryl Banks is?
Well, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, here in the United States. I've been in the comic industry since about 1989. And working a lot in the independent industry as far as comics, as well as commercial art, which that balance still goes on to this day. Some of my first works were with companies such as Innovation and Millennium Publishing, doing characters like Justice Machine and Doc Savage, Man of Bronze, and the Wild Wild West, based on the old television series. And I did various things in the independent market for about half a decade before getting an opportunity to do some work with DC Comics. That came in the form of doing some fill-in work on Legion of Superheroes. So from Legion, I was, they were happy with that, and then I got the opportunity to do what most people know me for. That's Green Lantern.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is something that I'm sure very, like a lot of people is very like into Green Lantern and into you because of all of the work that you've been doing. So you were working with Green Lantern since issue 47, I believe.
My first full issue was 50, but I started doing covers at 48.
All right. And then up to which number, which issue?
It's hard to say because I don't remember. I've had, I didn't do every issue to the end. I had a lot of fill-in from a lot of great artists like Paul Pelletier and Jeff Johnson and Andy Smith and guys like that. So it was off and on over an 8-year period. So it was a long run. A lot of comics. A lot of stories.
And right now, you said you're currently working with Icon?
I did a cover. I don't know if people have seen it before. So actually, it's a variant cover.
It's a variant cover.
Right. The main cover was done by Torrin Clark. But yeah, this is something I felt like. I remember when I got the email. It was. I thought it was just because even though I don't do regular work with DC, I've always been on their mailing list. So I thought it was just informing everybody. Oh, there's going to be an Icon kind of resurgence. And it was like I read closely. Oh, they want me to do something. Okay, that's fine. So
right.
Yeah, that was that. I was very happy with it. Well, I did the black and white. Now the color was done by a studio called Hi-Fi, and when I had done the Green Lantern anniversary story last year, I was very happy with their work. And so when it came to the Icon cover, they wanted to know, who I wanted to color it. And I said, well, whoever did my color of my Green Lantern anniversary story, they can keep going. So once again, I don't know everybody in that hi-fi studio, but I'd like to give them a hi-fi because they over-delivered. It was, I was more than impressed. I loved it. I hope everybody else liked it as well.
Right. Yeah. I remember. Cool. And tell us something about your creative process. So, since you said you were back in the days in the 90s, you were working for DC, but more like into the covers. So, what was your creative process whenever you got this gig? Like, was there any creative direction? Did you have creative freedom to work in whatever you wanted, or was it more like this is exactly what we need? So work with this. Don't go around the bushes with this. Like this is exactly what we need. Just straightforward. Or what? How was that experience?
It depends. Certain things they had exactly what they wanted. Some things they gave me leeway. Fortunately, the bulk of my Green Lantern work, I had a lot of leeway because the book was in bad shape before. That's why we're able to do such radical things, because when you're at the bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. So they left us alone and we could do some crazy things with it. Regarding the covers, my first Green Lantern cover, 48, now that layout for that was provided for me. But when it came to 49, I actually had to come up with everything for it. And with interior artwork and cover artwork, it's a different set of editorial decisions. For example, covers, since they're product and it deals with retail, there's a cover editorial staff for that, and a main editor for that. So they always want whatever image is going to be on the cover to be very striking to compete against whatever it might be, on the shelves at the same time. So for 49, they thought we need something to really jump out, at people from a distance. So my initial rough sketches was pretty much close to what you see, except we were pulled back a little further. You saw more of Hal. They thought, no, let's really zoom in just to show that, he's got a real crazed look on his face. And I thought, okay, fine. And that was it. It was pretty much 2 sketches. And then I had no idea that would become the cover I was most known for. Because even when the cover came out, it was just like, oh, yeah, this is shocking. But it seems like in the last, 3 or 4 years, it just really became a much more well-known image. I've seen it on shirts and posters almost more than when I initially did it.
Right. So what was your inspiration? I mean, that cover, Green Lantern 49, that for those who don't know about that cover, I'm sure you've seen it. and it's just that Hal Jordan just holding all the rings with this insane and madness look of him looking at and staring at all those rings and their fingers. What was your inspiration for that? Like,
The main thing was they just said, we want to show Hal Jordan in a way we've never seen him before. And because and obviously based on what was happening in the story, but we wanted a strong image that really gets the point across. This is a different Hal Jordan, not a different take. It's still him, but just more an attitude, him pushed beyond like we've never seen before. And that was it. They left the rest up to me. And, that was a lot of fun. People, like I said, seem like even like it more now than they did when I initially did it.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys think about it, it's just like the average type of scene that you would see in a horror movie whenever you're
right.
You're using this flashlight from like down and top. It's just like, I don't know, it worked. It's just so simple, so clever to use that and as a low point of view, and it gives you this hero type of scene, but at the same time he was becoming the villain. So that's what I loved about this cover. Like, wait a minute, this is a hero, this is a villain.
Are you sure?
Yeah, exactly. Are you sure you're seeing a hero here? That's what it was striking. It was inviting to people to buy that cover. So yeah, that was the question. And back in the 90s and during that time, I mean, internet was sorely introduced into the world. And I'm sure you were you actually in Columbus, Ohio? Because you're based in Columbus, Ohio. So
yes,
I'm not
born
sure
and
if
raised.
you
This is
got
the only place
a
I've
letter.
ever lived. Yeah, this is my hometown. Yeah.
All right. So you got a call, or you got like a mail piece of paper that this is exactly what we want.
It was, well, we spoke on the phone, and it was back and forth through the mail. I didn't own a computer. Matter of fact, I didn't buy my first computer until 99, I think. So yeah, that was a lot of phone calls and through the mail and faxing. We had fax machine.
Right.
I mean, the old school fax with the thermal paper that whatever's on it will disappear after a while. Yeah, that was how we communicated, and that's how I got my scripts as well.
All right, cool. So tell me about this creative process again, but in terms of Parallax and Kyle Rayner. So I know that you were in charge of designing the characters, their costumes. So what was the direction that you got from DC? In this, how did you work with that?
Well, what's funny is because it was the 90s. Keep in mind the time frame of what was going on at the time. You know, Image was really huge, and you know, everybody had, you know, an excessive look. Nothing was simple. Everybody had all types of armor and pouches and all that kind of stuff. You know, think of what was going on in X-Men and in Wildcats and all that kind of stuff. So some of the rejected designs were over-designed, except, although that was more Kyle. Parallax, I kind of knew from the very beginning exactly what I wanted him to look like.
Okay.
I've always loved armor. I still do. So I knew whatever Parallax was going to look like, he would be armored. So the only main difference is that initially, where that circle on his chest is black, it had the logo on it, and they thought, we like it, except get rid of the logo, it won't make sense. You know, this is early on. I hadn't even seen the script of exactly how he becomes Parallax. They just wanted me to design it because it was coming. So, whoops.
So you were thinking on. Okay, we'll give him a couple minutes.
There we are.
Okay.
So we had. I don't. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Good. So the only thing that changed, we got rid of the logo, and he got a cape a little bit later. Now the cape, it came from DC. Really liked what we were doing. Now remember, this was, you know, they just kind of left us alone and tell the stories we wanted to tell. But the problem was, maybe we made it a little bit too interesting, and so some of the hires up like, oh, we really like this guy. You know, we want him to be a bigger deal in the company. Let's give him a cape. So I had to design him a cape. So, you know, you'll notice when he first appears, he doesn't have a cape, but he got one eventually. So it was Kyle that had more of took several passes to get to the design that we really liked and was working. Some of the rejected ones, I had to do a sketchbook of the Kyle Rayner that almost was. Man, maybe to me, he still looks a little 90s, but you should see the ones that we didn't like. He was so 90s, it was painful. He didn't have pouches, but yeah, he had way too much armor for what it was, and it was just, you know, my editor was like, this is too much detail. He said, keep in mind, we want the detail to be in the ring creation, not in the costume.
Oh, okay. So you added the armor to Kyle in the beginning.
Well, most of what you see in Kyle today, he's a combination of rejected designs, and they took things that they liked, that they thought worked. In other words, we'll take the mask from one, the boots, the gauntlets and gloves from another, the chest emblem from another, that sort of thing, and put those together. You know, so that's kind of how it came together.
Just for you guys who don't know what we're talking about, this is Kyle Rayner, and this is the design that Darryl came up with. So this was the first appearance of Kyle Rayner. So this is what he's talking about.
In costume, yeah.
Right, in costume. What about the logo? Because this was a big change back then.
Yeah, that was with Kyle. That was the last thing to change because they liked, you know, once we put all the elements together, but they still wanted to keep the classic logo. And I thought, part of the assignment that they gave me is we want a Green Lantern that looks nothing like we've ever seen before. I thought, if you've come that far, let's change the logo. No. Let's keep that remnant of the old costume. I'm like, well, I had already designed it, so my how I had to sell them on it was, I said, Kyle, we established he wasn't going to recite the oath when he recharged the ring. So I thought, what if, the reason I split it like that, it implies the oath, in brightest day and blackest night, like in the center, it's like a sun and a moon. Yeah. So they thought about it. Well, I'll get back with you. And then they're like, okay, we're going to go with it. So it's funny. I've seen it on shirts. I've seen button stickers. I've even seen a lamp. So, for something they didn't like at first, now it's everywhere,
A lot of people love the design, and it's still up to date. It's something that a lot of people liked. I'm reading some comments in here. People love that design that you did, and it's just amazing. So tell me something about and how about the background? I know that you studied art, and Kyle's background was also in art. So did you have something to do with it?
No, believe it or not, that wasn't my idea. That was that was Ron's and the editors' idea to make him an artist, which obviously I was fine with. But no, actually, that wasn't my idea. I was more on the design side and the naming things side. Like, for example, Hal Jordan was going to be called the Protector, because they wanted to use a name they already had the copyright for, and I'm like, did you guys read the script? He's not protecting anything. That name doesn't make any sense. Nope. That's what we're going to call him, Protector. I like the name Parallax because it deals with point of view, especially from a specific point of view. So they're like, no, Parallax, no. They were against it. So once again, I think I even had to put something in writing. This is why I think he should be called Parallax. And once again, they thought about it, and then they went with it. And then, next thing, in the Green Lantern movie, the creature shows up, Parallax. I'm like, wow, if you like that name, some dude from Columbus, Ohio decided to name it that deal.
That's amazing. So you were telling us that you got your first computer late 90s. Are you, whenever you do your work, do you use steel pencils, mechanical pencils, traditional pencils, or do you work with digital right now?
I do both. Most of my pen and ink work is for commission work, which you yourself have purchased a few, and which I appreciate. Yeah. But as far as my comics work of lately, it's just been digital. I don't know if I can angle this. I use a Wacom Cintiq to do my comic work. Cool. And also, even my traditional commissions that I do, I'll lay them out this way. It's a time saver, and I'm also it's a learning process because I want to get better at digital painting. With my commercial work, I may have to do some digital coloring. Let's say, for example, toy design or something like that. But you've seen this really high-end digital painting that looks really realistic and that sort of thing. I'm in the process of, I want to learn more of that. So it's, to me, my whole art journey is just, it's always pick something else to learn or to get better at. It keeps it from getting stale. I think anybody wanting to be an artist professionally, always find something enjoyable to keep it exciting.
Excellent. So when you do your commissions, you said you work on digital, and then what do you use? Do you use it like a light box thing?
Yes, exactly. Okay. What I'll do is I'll do the prelim digitally, and then I'll send it to whoever is going to receive it. And if any changes need to be made, by doing changes digitally are very easy. In the old days, if something didn't work, I had to draw it all over again. With comics, same thing. It's like, oh, this panel doesn't work. We had to create patches, and then the production had to take the original artwork, cut it out and make a patch over the panel, that sort of thing. I remember the funeral for Hal Jordan was full of patches, and they were painful. I don't want to go too much into it, but all the characters from the DC universe that had to appear in the funeral, all the writers and editors from those characters had to approve it first. And one of the big ones was Hawkman, because Hawkman and the Hawk characters have those big wings and they take up a lot of space. And we had confirmation that we could use them. And then at the last minute, it's like, no, we're doing this, that, and the other, so they can't be in it. It's like, wow, those are big compositional elements. So having to create patches to get rid of them, it's like, oh man, it was a nightmare. But see, now with doing things digitally, I can rearrange things and put things on layers, and then it makes it pretty seamless. But I have to say, doing it the old way, I mean, I have fond memories of it. It's just it's almost like in the frontier days, the old days of doing things. It shows some progress and artistically and technologically. So. All
right. Cool. Well, for those who don't know, can you just explain really quickly what a patch is?
Well, let's say, for example, a character in a panel, maybe I've left out an important detail that's already been drawn, or maybe a character had an outdated costume, like, oh no, that's not what they look like now. Now they look like something else. So I had to redraw that panel and have whoever was inking it ink it, and then they'll send it in to the production department, and they'll literally cut it out and put it on, paste it on the original artwork, and then it goes through the production process.
Yeah, just a piece of paper on top of that panel.
Right. Of course, we had a lot of layers anyway, because when Kyle was creating things, the ring energy being green, it was done on these clear overlays. The inker would take a red pen and trace around the shape, so that when they printed it just came out green, not with a black outline around it. So probably the biggest case of a patch, and maybe the most controversial, was Alex in the fridge. What you saw in the comics was not how I drew it. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Because, now in the original version, she was definitely dead, but the way I had drawn it, the door was off and you could see all the shells were crushed and she was laying in there. Because I don't know about you, but I can't fit a body in the fridge unless they're in pieces. But because of the Comics Code Authority, like, oh, you can't show a dead body, you're going to have to, cover, have the door slightly, open so you can't see her. Well, because you couldn't see her, everyone thought the same thing. And as we're doing it, I thought, if you can't see her body intact, they're going to think she's in pieces in there. And that's what everybody thought. So that was an example of censorship backfiring. So, something that if you left it alone, we probably only be talking about it maybe a few months. But now here we are, 2021, still talking about Alex in the fridge. Oh my God, her head is on one shelf and her feet are another. That's your imagination would kick in because you couldn't see it. So that was absolutely. That panel was a patch.
What was that like in terms of challenges in your life, like as an artist, as a comic book creator, what is the most challenging part for you, just to translate that into whatever the reader must see, or what is that you think it's the most challenging part?
The most challenging part, to me, I would say, well, one, having all the creativity, telling the story, while also meeting the deadline. Because, often I've gotten assignments over artists who were just flat out better than me, but if there's a problem with the deadline, I could communicate and we could work something out. I don't disappear on them. That's how I was able to stay on the book for over 8 years. It wasn't because I was fast, just the opposite. But the key is communication is a very powerful key if you're going to do art professionally. How well you draw is a percentage, but that's not the main part of it. I think about, I used to teach, I used to tell my students, you want to balance what I call the intangibles, meaning I'd say how well you draw or paint is maybe 60% of your success rate, but the rest are things like, what is your attitude like? How is your ability to work with a team? How well do you take correction? If they want something changed, do you have too much of an ego? Like, oh, I'm not changing that. If you can control things like that, that's going to really put you on the on the good list of editors. And really, I don't think of think in terms of art. I think of problem solving. Like, this is the script. The problem is, what's this going to look like? Solve that problem. And if you can solve that, and the writer likes what you've come up with, and the editor is pleased with the flow of production, that's solving a problem. And I don't know about you, but if you're hired someone to do something, it could be plumbing or anything. If they solve a problem, you're going to remember that. And so when a problem happens again, you're going to call the problem solver. So that's one thing I always like to extend to my students is you want to solve problems, and people will remember it.
Interesting. And like this is something that I know I'm sure a lot of new artists are thinking about it, and for them it might be easy. Is there anything that you would recommend to new artists, new talents? Someone is watching you, that watching us right now, but you have a lot of experience. Is there anything that you recommend to new talents, like what to do, what not to do, and how to make their names to be put up here, and like in terms of practice and skills? Like what would you recommend at this point in your life?
Chances are, if you want to be an artist professionally, you already know things like you need to work on anatomy and storytelling and perspective. You know all that. But what I always like to suggest the things that maybe they don't consider is, number one, relax. This is art. This is supposed to be fun. Relax. Even if you're starting out, you might get assignment you don't care about. But remember, this is what you want to do. You might have to, have some boring assignments just to get to where you want to get to. And also, you want to think in terms of, even if you're loving what you do, it's going to be work. If you've got a deadline and it's 2 a.m., I don't care what you're drawing. It could be your own character. It's still work. There are going to be times where it's going to be really hard work. And to be honest, there'll be times it'll be very boring, no matter what it is. That's human nature. So, like I said, I could talk about, you need to work on your anatomy and your, structures and your composition. Most artists already know they need to work on those things. So I want to just really reiterate to those that want to be into art professionally is also have a good sense of well-being within yourselves. I had a teacher in college used to say, if you take care of you, the art will take care of itself. It's that if you have a good peace of mind within yourself, it'll be reflected in the art that you generate. So I kind of want to have that standpoint when it comes to advice, because I could say, this drawing is okay, but fix this arm. They could probably already figure that out themselves. But there's so many tutorials and books out. That sort of advice they can get anywhere. But having done this since '89, I often think, how many times do people hear about things like that? Just things to think about. What do you do when you're really nervous and you might blow your deadline? Do you feel like how do you still continue? Well, number one, like I said, relax. It's kind of like, chances are, don't be afraid to fail, because you will. But it's not the end of the world. Just keep going. Persistence, and remember why you enjoy doing artwork in the first place. Now, if you want to keep it as a hobby, that's fine. You can only do it when you're feeling great. But if you're going to do this as your profession, this is how you're going to feed yourself and your family. There are going to be some hard times. That's just how it is. But, you've heard the expression, tough times don't last, but tough people do. So I just want to encourage people to find a way to keep themselves encouraged and just enjoy it. It's a journey. It's not a destination, because you're going to always need to learn something else from a practical sense and from from an artistic sense. But really, you want to keep adding to your skills, because there's so many different types of art, and the industries that you might find yourself in keep changing. There was a time there was no digital comics. Well, there is now. How comics are colored has changed. So you want to keep in touch with how are things going currently in the market that I'm in, and what can I learn and apply it.
Right. Yeah. A lot of artists.
That makes sense.
Yeah. A lot of artists think that because I'm an artist and I'm getting paid every single piece is going to be a piece of art, and that is something that sometimes it doesn't work like that. Like you said, you're going to fail eventually, but
It happens.
you have the
It
pressure
happens.
that you think you have the right to not fail, and that is untrue. I mean,
Well, I think social media people, especially like Instagram, you'll see great artwork, and you might be feeling confident, and then one day you click on it, and you see stuff that blows you away. Like, I can't do that. I quit. This guy's got 50,000 likes. I'll never get. That's their journey. That's their journey. I mean, I've been doing this over 30 plus years. My average likes, I think, on social media might be like 100, 150. My thing is, am I still working? Yeah. Am I still liking what I'm doing? Yeah. Well, the likes will come or they don't. I mean, fortunately, I'm older than the internet anyway, so it's not bothering me.
I feel the social media and it's just kind of weird. Sometimes it works not the way you want, and sometimes you are not apparently doing anything, and you're getting hundreds and thousands and maybe millions of followers, and you don't know why, but it's just like a formula that you don't know what it is, but it's working. And like other artists are saying, like, well, I have a lot of years in this industry. There are a lot of names, like very talented, famous rock stars, artists in the comic book industry, and they don't have a million followers. So it's like, well, what is the right formula? What is that I'm doing wrong? And I think you have to separate that social media thing with what you do that is art in this case. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm with you. Don't be discouraged. And in this case, like talking about masterpieces, we all know that you're very famous for that Green Lantern 49 issue. But what is your favorite comic book cover that you've done for you? Like, well, a lot. I'm very well known of this, but my love is for this one. Or is it the same issue? What is your feeling right now?
I think it was funny when I did those covers at the time. My favorite cover was 50 because that was, Hal Jordan coming out of the battery, and it was very iconic to me. But it was like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, when you think about it, it's just him flying. But that wasn't so. Really, it wasn't cutting edge in any way. It was just more like it meant a lot to me personally because that was also my first full issue. So it was kind of like we're off to the races. But fans obviously more gravitated to 49. But when I think about overall my favorite project, and I've done quite a few, it's probably Green Lantern Silver Surfer. Because I mean, in it, I got to draw Marvel and DC characters. I got to draw Thanos. I got to draw Galactus, the Silver Surfer, along with DC characters. So I mean, that was a dream project. I would just, it was great. Inked by Terry Austin. So, it was one of those things where let me build a time machine and tell the younger version of me that was frustrated and think this was never going to work, that hey, this is coming in your future. Just stick with it. Right. Let me tell you, when trying to get into comics is that in the old days you used to get rejection letters. They used to write you. Not only do they reject you, they would tell you why they rejected you. And I had a thick stack. I mean, it looked like a telephone book. And I wish I'd kept them because I would tell people that at conventions, or I used to tell my students when I used to teach that. And I think they don't believe that it was really that big of a stack, but it was. It was. It was one of those things where you find out how bad do you want it. Because see, I wanted it really bad. I mean, even when it looked like it was just never going to work. I mean, if looking back, it was sort of like, why did you pursue this? Out of all the rejection, but I just there was nothing else I wanted to do. I was like, I'm not an athlete, I can't sing, so art's going to have to be it. And also I have a lot of support from family. Always have. I remember my father, when he was still living, he worked in a steel mill. He retired from it, but he hated everything about his job. And I thought, I can't go through life doing a job I hate. He did it. He took care of the family, but he absolutely hated his job. I thought, I can't live that way. So what do I love to do as a profession? I said artwork's going to have to be it. So, like I was telling you, when you want to pursue art, understand it's not going to always be easy. There'll be times it'll be heartbreaking, but you'll find out how bad do you really want it. And so if you stick with it, it'll be worth it. The things that you were having almost a near heart attack over today, tomorrow you'll be laughing and you'll go on to something else. That's life.
That's great. Thank you for that. I know I'm sure a lot of people watching us are gonna appreciate those kind of comments, because I mean it's I know it's a long journey and there are obstacles that you have to overcome, and you gotta be persistent, constant, and keep drawing, practicing, no matter what. If that's what you love, there you go. Like you have,
and getting good critiques is very important as well. I used to, I couldn't afford to do a lot of conventions, but those I could go to, I would, get feedback from. I remember showing my work a lot to Brian Stelfreeze and Dennis Cowan and Jerry Ordway. Whoever was at some of the local conventions, I had my portfolio, and the best thing was getting a real critique, not a compliment, but a critique. Now the difference is, I would tell my students that it's not a critique unless it hurts your feelings. If you came away just feeling great, you didn't get critiqued, you got complimented. You're not going to grow. It's like, you look at weightlifters, especially we got the Olympics, these guys lifting 400 pounds over their head. To get to that point, they had to do a lot of hard work where I'm sure it really hurt, and they had to work on technique, etc. The same with art. It's like, unless you really want to get a critique where it's like, you're really awful at this, if they just say, oh, your stuff is great, got a lot of potential, you don't know what to work on, So I remember...
so very true.
I remember thinking, that critique really hurt. But then I learned something. I know what I thought I was good at that, but no, not so much. But I actually I took a notebook, a pad small enough to fit in my pocket, and I would carry it around. And I made a list of everything that every critique said that I was awful at. And I said, as I got better, I wanted to cross something off the list. And actually, when I got the top of the list and crossed it off, I thought I might get work at DC or Marvel, which it happened shortly after that. So, but it came from being able to take those hard punches, like, oh man, I thought I was good at that area. Oh, they said I sucked at that. So just sticking with it. It really just don't give up. It's gonna hurt, but if you want to do this, just stick with it. And like I said, and relax. These are things that I really learned having done this. Like I said, for over 3 decades of this.
and having fun. How do you have fun drawing? Do you listen to music? Do you have like some inspiration of quotes on your workspace? What do you do?
It's a mixture.
Besides drawing. Okay.
I will have. I might listen to music. I'm big into Japanese superheroes. Big. I mean, if I could turn this around and show you one of my shelves I've got every Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, whatever.
Cool.
I love toys. I love that kind of stuff. So I may have something playing on my one monitor, while I'm drawing. As a Christian, I might be listening to a sermon, just different things that really will speak to me at the time, because it could be different from day to day as to what I feel like listening to. Sometimes I want complete quiet. I don't want to hear anything. Usually that comes when the clock is ticking, when something is due. I can look at the clock like, I need to have this done in 2 hours. Then I don't want to hear anything.
You're focused and try to yeah. I get that.
It really comes down to, I don't want to watch too much TV wise, because then I don't want to find myself zooming into that and not focusing on it. It's got to be something that I can kind of come in and out of. That's why, a lot of the superhero stuff I watch, like, Kamen Rider or whatever, the stories are simple enough where I can kind of listen and read subtitles. I mean, I speak a little Japanese, but I can it's not distracting me from getting my work done, that sort of thing. So.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's something that I'm sure a lot of people didn't know. And
if you follow my Instagram, you can see my toys, so you can kind of tell.
I've seen your toys, but I didn't know that you were so big into that.
Oh
Good,
yeah,
good, good.
that started from when I was a kid. With Godzilla when I was probably in elementary school in Gamera. And then there was a show, Space Giants. I think its original Japanese name was Ambassador Magma, Spectre Man, and then came Ultraman. I was into that stuff back in the '70s, so I never outgrew it. I'm more into it now because it's more accessible through things like Amazon Prime Video, etc. But yeah, that's that's something I'm very passionate about. I love that stuff.
That's cool to know. Yeah, very good. Well, we're about to close this interview. If someone has specific questions, please
any questions
let us know. Yeah. Let me see real quick if someone has some questions in here before we close. There are some comments here. Always love to see new additions to Darryl's collection. Darryl is the Ultraman man.
Hey, that's Yuko's man. Hey, Yuko, what's up?
Yeah.
Another great artist. Check out his
Nice.
Instagram.
I will. I'm sure I will after this. Yeah. Let's see. Darryl's for passion for Galactus is unmatched. No surrender, no retreat. All right. Oh, it says any plans for the New York Comic Con or in Chicago?
I've never done those shows. I'd love to do either one of those. Both preferably.
Yeah, absolutely. They say here you did a great job on Harkins Raiders Kickstarter. Cool.
Oh, that was a World War II graphic novel I did recently. That was done as a Kickstarter. That was a great experience. That was also written by Ron Mars. It kind of showed we could do things other than superheroes.
Right. Cool. They're asking still like any other Kickstarters projects. Anything you have in mind?
Ron and I are working on something. We're doing a story right now, and I would imagine probably maybe into this year the company will probably want to make an announcement. A lot of stuff I do is like they want to kind of keep under wraps until they've got more to actually present. I think I saw something about what program I use. I use Clip Studio Paint, and I use a little Photoshop, but mainly Clip Studio that's my go-to. Love that program.
Cool. All right. We have some other questions real quick. Any artists that inspired you during all these years? Someone you admired?
Wow. A long list. Think about, since childhood, I was always a big fan of John Romita Sr., Gil Kane, Alan Davis.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's not like I was and I'm not anymore. Like, no, the artists that I liked as a kid, I still love to this day, But there's some modern guys that are really amazing. Like, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it, Olivier Coipel. I think he's amazing. Ivan Reis. David Finch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who has a great YouTube channel full of so many great and helpful tutorials. I think he means them for people who were starting out, but I'm like, I watch him, I learn from him all the time. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm older than he is, but it's kind of like, hey, I can learn from anybody. You could be 18. If you draw something better than I do, I can learn from you.
There's no shame in that. It's just the way it is. Some people know better, some other techniques, and there's a lot you can learn from them. Characters you'd like to draw better than others, besides Green Lantern, of course. I don't know. There's so many different characters I like to draw. I tend to like superheroes, but as I learned with Harkins Raiders, that was enjoyable because it was a learning experience because I had to reference everything. I mean, this was a historical story, so I couldn't this can be a plane-like shape. No, this has to be an exact. I don't know all the names. This is the so-and-so Manchester carrier,
plane, and that, you know, I had to make sure it was accurate, because if not, I figured we would hear about it. So you know, that was something that it was hard work, but I still liked doing it. But you know, sketching just for myself, you know, it would be something superhero. You know, it could be Marvel or DC.
All right.
Someone mentioned Sean Gordon Murphy. That guy is a prodigy. Cool. I mean, wow. his stuff is so good. It's like it's magic. I'm like, wow. It's just I don't know where to start.
Awesome. Well, before we go, there is a good question that I got in here, and I would really like to encourage you to tell us, among all your art, all your work, what would you recommend us to get that you've done? Like, hey, you should get this. This was really good because I did it, and it's not like something that you feel proud of doing it, that we should get as collectors in terms of storyboarding, whatever you want. This is open for you. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Well, if you haven't picked up Icon, that's probably something that you can go to your local
Absolutely,
shop.
And this is recent, yeah.
Yes, and I have a story in the John Stewart.
The
hardcover reprints. That's another one I think would be great to get. And of course, the anniversary issue. I mean, this had like so many different covers, but the reason I really suggest this one is because this is my first Green Lantern story I ever did 100% digitally, and so I really like how it came out. So
I didn't know about that. Okay,
yeah, that was the first. So in addition to my classic Green Lantern stuff, those are some things I would suggest that you would probably actually be able to still obtain relatively easily at your local comic shops.
Excellent. Well, Darryl, thank you so much for your time. There was a lot of people here from Mexico, from Argentina, from Chile, the USA that watch this live streaming. And thank you again for sharing your time with us.
My pleasure.
For everyone that is watching, make sure that you are aware and following the Instagram and the YouTube channel, because this video is going to be edited and uploaded to both channels, so the Instagram and the YouTube channel. So, and for you who were not aware, the previous interview with artist Efrain Malo, it's now up in the YouTube channel. So same thing with Darryl Banks, it's going to be there, so you can watch it and rewatch it again and enjoy this great interview that we had today with Darryl Banks.
That would be great. I appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. This was fantastic.
Thank you
again.
More
people than I thought.
Yeah. I'm very glad that this was successful. Good. Well, thanks again for your time, guys. This was O Comics with Darryl Banks, and we'll see you again for another interview. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Oscar.